What's going on? Velocity back just for a minor reaction during the week. Got two topics to talk about. Game two of the Clippers versus the Suns, and game one of the Bucks versus the Hawks. Let's start with Clippers versus Suns since that happened a little bit earlier. First off, I want to say that the next blasphemous comment that comes out saying maybe this team's better off, bless you by the way,
Thank
the
you.
next blasphemous comment that comes out of someone's mouth that is maybe this team's better off without Chris Paul, I'm going to lose my mind on because I've heard it too many times this week. Even if it was only once or twice, I cannot hear it again because it is driving me nuts. There is no reason that that comment should have any place in basketball. And if you have that actual feeling, please stop bothering and don't watch basketball anymore.
Yeah, and you can turn your basketball cards into velocity.
Bingo. Exactly. Um, but other than that, I'm gonna talk about the Suns first because Suns played really well. Cameron
Hmm.
Payne had 30 points, and that's not because Chris Paul was gone. He filled the gap really well, and I think he is a good point guard, starting caliber in the future. I don't think he's there just yet, but he's a good point guard. And he'll be able to take Chris Paul's spot once he retires or goes to another team, whatever happens. But right now, Chris Paul's better. I don't want to hear it. The biggest thing I think we both agree on is that DeAndre Ayton is going to be the biggest mismatch far and away for this Clippers team. I mean, Zubac cannot guard that man for the life of him, and I thought maybe DeMarcus Cousins would have a chance of at least defending him somewhat well, but for someone that likes to hack every time any player goes up for a shot near him, like 3 fouls in 4 minutes, it's hard to watch because he also had 5 fouls in 10 minutes the other day, and I'm getting really tired of it. It's so hard to watch, and DeAndre Eaton's going to continue to eat them alive, whether it be in the middle of the game, early game, or a last second alley oop to end your chances of winning game two. So, other than that, Devin Booker played well. Again, we expect that, but DeAndre Eaton's going to be the difference maker. No surprise there, and a couple good bench performances too by the Suns. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I want to say who else performed well. Do you have anyone off the bench?
No,
Oh,
not
Dario
really.
Sarkic played really well too. That's all I had, at least for regards to the Suns. I'll talk about the Clippers after if you want to talk Suns first.
Yeah, to DeAndre Ayton. One thing I'm glad to see, and hopefully, it'll be a revelation for all you newbies in the sport of basketball, or some of you who are just so caught up in this modern era, who've completely disrespected the role and impact big men have on the game of basketball just because the officiating style of play is biased in favor of the guards. Did they make such a big difference just because the guards can dribble and shoot? Like I'll admit, most of the guards in the league they're more entertaining to watch. Their style of play is more entertaining, or generally speaking. But the bigs make such a big difference out there. And DeAndre Ayton, honestly, to me, despite how young he is, he looks like he's playing effortlessly. To me, even up against Jokic and Anthony Davis, like it looked like it was no sweat. He
He's
just
only going to
knows
get
what to
better.
do. Yeah, he's just he's just doing his thing out there. Like the moment's not getting to him at all. He just say, "I got a job to do. I'm gonna do it."
Yeah,
Um, Devin Booker. I mean, he's just having an incredible postseason run. I mean, I'd love to be in his shoe. My first time in the playoffs, everything going right. Hope everyone stays healthy. That's for sure. Because I've always said that about Chris Paul, like being injury prone. But Devin Booker has a history of being injury prone as well. But now that he has a legit team around him, um, he's getting double team less frequently. So there's a bit less physicality on him. So that's why they're holding up. I hope stays that way. And Cameron Payne is funny because I still remember when he was on Oklahoma City Thunder. Back then, I mean, I wouldn't say I don't think he was garbage back then, but he just wasn't really a noteworthy player. Like he was decent at best for a role player. And then after that, I don't even remember what team he was on. Like following that, if he didn't go straight to the Suns, but he just disappeared off the face of the earth to me. But now he looked like he really found himself there, Phoenix Suns, and I've heard this on I believe Undisputed Me no or First Take, one of the two shows, ESPN or FS1. Someone brought up a good point. The only person who was able to bring out this version of Cameron Payne was Monty Williams, the coach. He's the only coach that could bring out this potential in a campaign. Cause one, what I find incredible is that I never noticed like how athletic this guy is. Like he is so fat. He moves like lightning on the court. He's playing loose. He's playing a much. This is the biggest role he's ever played in his career as well. He's essentially the sixth man on the team, or at least their backup point guard. So, and I see he's embracing that role. Chris Paul not being there, he's stepping up to the plate. But interestingly enough, CP3 is supposed to be back out tonight. And to reiterate what Evan said, any of you who are even thinking that Cameron Payne is better than Chris Paul or think the Suns are better without Chris Paul, all of you need to turn your basketball cards in. I like you could comment and say, "Oh, we're being disrespectful" or whatever. I really don't care. Go for it.
I'll be twice as
But
disrespectful if I hear it again.
yeah, and I'm also gonna say this: the Suns go to the finals and go all the way. And let's just say hypothetically, Chris Paul might get Finals MVP, but even if not, and then you want to start talking about how Chris Paul is so such an elite point guard ever, talk about him top five, even with all that praise. If you did not have that knowledge or thought in your mind prior to the championship, once again, that's going to expose your lack of knowledge in basketball, and you need to turn your basketball cards in.
Hmm.
So that's what I got to say.
Real quick with Cameron Payne, it's interesting to watch because he went through I think 4 or 5 other teams, and I didn't remember watching him a ton in the NBA. I remembered watching him at Murray State though, and he was really good in college. So
He
it's
was
fun.
there when OKC played Golden State back when we were in high school.
Yeah, it's fun to watch the career path he had because he looks way better now than he used to.
Hmm.
And more game oriented necessarily, not worrying about individual play because I think that's just what happens when you come out of college and transition to the NBA. Now shifting towards the Clippers, Marcus Morris I think did not play well. I think that should be noted. Reggie Jackson and Paul George played pretty well. I'm not gonna flame Paul George as much as every other station has. I mean, I will say straight up, as a shooting guard, especially, you need to make free throws. That can't be overstated. I mean, that's pretty obvious. You missed two of the big free throws at the end of the game.
Yeah, I know he's a career 80 something percent free throw shooter as well.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
that's my biggest issue. But that's a given. Everyone knew that was gonna be said the next day. I'm more disappointed thus far with the coaching by Ty Lue for this series. I think he's coached a really good playoff so far, but I don't like the way he's managing his players in the series. Like I understand that you need to put Zubac or Cousins in there to try to contain Eaton, but like at this point, you're almost better off letting Eaton cook with Batum guarding him and putting better, more mobile defenders on the court than Zubac or DeMarcus Cousins, because the amount of hacking that's coming from Cousins and the lack of proper play from Zubac is not gonna do it. I would rather have Batum on the court and Terrance Mann starting than have Zubac on the court. And now Terrance Mann has been shifted from 40 minutes in the last series to per game in like the last 2 games to 15 minutes a game, and he's shooting above 50% in the 15 minutes both times. Like he scored 40 points. You have to try to let him cook. I mean, what are you supposed to do? You're gonna try to roll over and die for the series? I mean, he's played well every time he's on the court.
I
So
mean, he's also the reason you beat Utah.
I exactly. So I can't understand why he's been delegated to this bench role near the bottom of the bench because he's getting less minutes than most of the guys on the bench even. and I think that's just downright disrespectful. So um, they deserve to lose if they keep it up. I think that Terrance Mann does deserve more. I'm not saying he's a star player by any means, but I'm saying he's better than what you have on the floor. Um, and you're not acknowledging that. So hopefully we see a difference in the starting lineup tonight. I doubt it, but I hope that Terrance Mann at least gets more minutes because it's diminishing their chances of winning. I know their games have been super close every time, but like I feel like you would be winning at least one of them if Terrance Mann was on the floor. Um, and Paul George needs to play better. I mean everyone knows that. I expect nothing more or less. I mean, I expect nothing more from Reggie Jackson. I think if he keeps playing like he is, that'll be just fine. That's what they need from him. But Marcus Morris needs to play better too. So Marcus Morris and PG and Ty Lue are my main issues so far in the series.
I got an interesting question for you.
Okay.
Do you think um the Clippers winning the series would be the worst thing to happen for Kawhi?
Mm, no, I think that the team is adjusting around him, and as is the coaching. So they're trying to figure out what to do without him. You got to think at the same time. This is well, Kawhi's presence is missing, and they've played better in a couple games. You also have to think that this is a team that is used to playing without Kawhi for most of the season due to load management or injury. So whatever you would like to call it, they've done this plenty amount of times, so they already know what they
Yeah.
have to do. So I still think that they would do better with him on the court, but
Yeah, for sure.
um, he's
You
been
know,
missing so
I,
many times that that
I
doesn't even
just
matter.
realized that now it all makes sense. That was the off-season strategy. Weed out everyone who was not down with the load management.
Yeah,
Lou Williams, Montrezl
yeah,
Harrell, Doc Rivers.
yeah. So we're just gonna
That
get used to it without him and see how it goes, and then we'll get
yeah.
used to it in the playoffs. So I and honestly now it's not a torn ACL, now it's a sprained knee. It's one thing another day, it's another thing a different day. So he's supposed to be out for tonight's game. I think if they go down 0-3 though, I think we might magically see him appear and play game 4. So that's all I'm gonna say. Interesting.
But if they lose though, do you think that would benefit him? That just in terms of reputation. Like I almost feel like it's one of those situations where it's like obviously he wants the team to win. But I feel like part of him knows that if they go and win and finally make it to the NBA. First of all, they made it to the conference finals without him. But
Let
then get all the way to the NBA finals without him.
let,
I
let
feel, I feel like people are gonna say, "Wow, you know, Kawhi, you folded up last year. Well, you're missing, and you guys finally break through?"
well, let's be
Question
real.
mark.
Kawhi Leonard, for some reason, whatever it is just absolved from any scrutiny from the media. I don't know if it's because he's quiet or what, but he doesn't get
Exactly.
criticism. So
That's why I got to shout out to Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp, the guys holding it down on Undisputed. And first day, Kawhi folded last year. They did not hesitate to
yeah,
let him have it.
because like I don't know, like he just doesn't get scrutiny no matter what he does. And if they do lose the series, I'm sure the first thing everyone's gonna say is, well, it's because they didn't have Kawhi. Like we know that's gonna be the first thing that comes out of their mouth. But if they win this series, Kawhi's not gonna be mentioned once. They're not gonna say, oh, well, like unless it's like, oh, they would have won the series in 4 if they had Kawhi or something like that. Let's be real.
Yeah,
They would give way more praise to Kawhi not being there versus Kawhi, being healthy and let's say they lose the series or something like that. There would be less
mhm,
scrutiny there. It makes no sense. I think that he does deserve some blame for part of it, and it's not necessarily his gameplay. It could be the chemistry. It could be, just his relationships with everyone on the team. But nothing looks as fluent when he's on the floor with them. Even if they look better overall, like even if they're scoring more, nothing looks better. Like chemistry wise. It doesn't look
yeah.
as normal. That's all I got to say about the series. I mean, I think
Mhm.
Suns are still going to win in 5.
I got Suns winning the whole thing.
Um, I'm getting there because they're by far the most um, well-operated machine. They're all together on it. There's no differences in opinion, no nothing. So I got high
Mm,
hopes. Um, Now let's talk Bucks versus Hawks.
Ice tray.
Trey Young was great. We expected that. We expected him to score a lot. I think I said that the key to the Hawks winning wasn't going to be Trey Young, but it was going to be the rest of his team. I still hold true to that. John Collins played really well. He had 20, but he also played pretty well defensively, in my opinion. Um, you had some other pretty good performances. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I know, well, Giannis played really well. I'm gonna flame someone else on that team in a second. Let me get there though.
Your usual victim.
Yeah. Well, John Collins played well. Herder played pretty well. Um, Danilo Gallinari played decently well. He also put PJ Tucker into a spin cycle, so we won't talk about that. Since that didn't
Oh
happen to the
yeah.
best scorer in the NBA. Now it is time for me to criticize because I am so livid about that game. Uh,
Yeah, you got the floor. They've heard my rants already, so it's your turn.
I just want for once Chris Middleton to play a consistent playoff series, like total. Like I'm saying, entire like season of playoffs. How hard is it? One game you're putting up 45, you're amazing, and then last night you shoot 0 for 9 from three. How? How? How is that possible? I
He's trying
can
to
you
build
tell
a
me?
house. He's trying to build a house.
Like,
House of bricks.
who guarded him? Herder and Gallinari?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my gosh! Like, I understand they're both pretty good defenders, but you're a borderline all star to almost full time all star, and you're shooting 0 for 9 from 3 point range. I don't understand that. Not to mention you shot 6 for 23 last night, so that drives me absolutely insane. Giannis, I have nothing to say. He shot 14 to 25. He shot above 50%. And he had 9 assists. He was one shy short of a triple double because he had 12 rebounds too. So he better not be getting any criticism. That's all I'm going to say. It better be going on Chris Middleton because he played a hell of a game.
Hmm.
And not to mention Drew Holiday lit up Trey Young. I mean, I know Trey Young had 48. He lit him up too. I get it. I get it. But Drew Holiday, he scores what, 15 to 20 at best? He scored 34 last night or 33.
Yep.
You have two great scoring performances last night. So no one better put this blame on Giannis or Drew Holiday. It's pretty clear who it was on. It was on the All-Star who decided to score, what was it, like 10 points last night? Oh, I'm sorry,
Hmm.
15. Not to mention he was minus 13 on the floor. Minus 13 on the floor. Brook Lopez was minus 14 on the floor. He played awful too. He got bullied by Clint Capella. That's all I'm gonna say. He got bullied. For someone that doesn't score, Clint Capella had 12 points too, and he out rebounded him. He had 20 rebounds last night. So I mean, Giannis is alone down low getting rebounds. He had 12 rebounds. Let me look real quick. Brook Lopez had 2 rebounds. 2 rebounds as a center last
Well,
night.
yeah, but let's be real. Throughout Brook Lopez's career, he's never been a rebounder. Never.
Yeah.
Like he can block some shots and he can score.
Well, I know this might sound crazy, but I think that there should be consideration into starting Bobby Portis in game two. He came off the bench. He had 8 rebounds in 15 minutes, and it might be a game of rebounding because you have John Collins and Clint Capella down low. Giannis can't grab every rebound. I'm sorry. He's a good rebounder, but you're asking him to go against one of the best rebounders in the NBA and Clint Capella because he is. He had 20 rebounds too last night. He showed that. And then you have John Collins, who is another guy who's near fringe All-Star material, who got another 15 boards. He can't just 10. If he gets 10 rebounds, okay, that's good. Still got out rebounded by 20 rebounds versus those guys. But you need someone to get the ball. So I mean, I would consider starting Bobby Portis. I know Brook Lopez is probably a better all-around player, but you need rebounding. And if you have rebounding and maybe, oh, I don't know, your second All Star decides to show up, um, you might actually win the game because you only lost by three. I mean, that's all I gotta say with the Bucks. I think it's fully on Chris Middleton and partially on Brook Lopez too. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, you're right on the money with that, except for the Brook Lopez part, because again, as I said, like his role on the team was never really to rebound, despite the fact he's a center, because that's not something he's ever really contributed to his teams.
I just
I think I
It's
think keeping
defense
him at
oriented, right?
yeah,
He
like
still lost
yeah,
12 to Clint Capella.
true,
He just doesn't score.
but
That's why I was confused. Go ahead though.
yeah. But I think the keeping Lopez starting is fine, and having Giannis, even though it's a lot of work, him just rebounding out there alone with the starters is fine, as long as Middleton is effective offensively from the perimeter. Because if you think back to the Miami Heat series, Giannis was playing down in the at the basket with Brook Lopez at all times to amp up the rim protection, and he was grabbing like so many rebounds down there. And like, yeah, Giannis, he's taller than Capella and what's his name, John Collins. So I think that would be fine as long as Middleton is doing what he has to do out on the perimeter offensively. Like essentially, let Holiday and Middleton like initiate most of the offense from the perimeter. That'll mean Giannis would have to do less, like fast break driving or like driving from the perimeter. So it will burn him out less.
I'll say this. I think that in every series that I've watched with the Bucks in the playoffs, the way Chris Middleton's playing is usually the series they usually lose. Like the way he's playing, he played yesterday. Anytime he starts playing like that, they usually lose the series. So
Yep.
I have an awful feeling if he keeps it up in the next few games that they don't have a chance.
Yeah. But I'm glad you bring up rebounding because again, it's one of those things that like people who don't know basketball. It's funny. I keep bringing up people who don't know basketball because there are so many people out there who really don't know basketball. Rebounding is so important in the game of
Like
basketball. It has such a direct correlation that people don't understand to like your scoring. If you're grabbing the offensive rebounds, that gives your team second chance scoring opportunities. Defensive rebounding,
you're
you're
shutting down
prevent
second chance opportunities.
yeah, that's what people don't understand. Like there are so many examples you could bring up. Well, one the Miami Heat series. Where did they win? It was on the rebounding battle. That's really where they won. When the Toronto Raptors beat the 76ers, the rebounding battle. Kawhi Leonard was killing Joel Embiid on the offensive rebounds, and how rest his soul, great Kobe Bryant, when they went to the finals against the 2010 Celtics, there was an interview. They asked Kobe like, how does he feel? Do you really feel like the Lakers can win the title this year? He said, yeah, because we have the key to it. We have defense and rebounding. Look back in any of these NBA championship teams. What were the two main reasons they won? They won the rebounding battle and they played stellar defense.
It it's I mark my words. The teams advancing to the finals, whoever they may be, it's gonna be off of good big man play, whether through rebounds, and
Yeah,
that's why I don't think the Clippers have a shot because I don't think they have anyone to
they
match
don't
up
have.
DeAndre Eaton, and
Yeah, they have no rebounding there.
because you can guard Chris Paul and Devin Booker all you want, it's not gonna mean anything if you can't guard DeAndre Eaton. So, and with Milwaukee versus Atlanta, I thought the matchup's closer. I mean, you have Clint Capella versus Brook Lopez, but then you have Giannis and John Collins. I don't like to consider Giannis as a full-time power forward because he's outside of the key a lot. So,
Yeah, I still consider him a small forward.
so, at that point, it's very much. I feel bad for Brook Lopez in regard. It's very much John Collins and Clint Capella crashing the boards versus him. And like you said, he's not made for rebounding. That's not who he is. So that's why I would start Bobby Portis because you need more rebounds. You can't just get out rebounded by 20 rebounds in the starting five every game. You're not going to win.
Yeah.
You're going to lose a ton of opportunities, and they're going to gain a lot of opportunities. So
Hmm.
I think that's I think you just got to bring in Andre Drummond.
Yeah, you guys get taken. Just keep him far away from my Miami Heat and the Sixers, and I'm fine.
But it's a difficult situation. I mean, Giannis can put up as many points as he wants, but if the other team's getting a ton of second chances, it won't mean anything. And I think that was a problem with the Sixers too. But, I know Embiid played really well, but there was a from the games I've watched, there was a lot of second chance points from the Hawks too. Um, you know,
Yeah,
whether the rim bounced the wrong way and Embiid couldn't reach it and it went to someone else, there was a lot of second chance scored points by the Hawks.
that's the only instance where I'd bring up Embiid's meniscus tear because he wasn't as active boxing out or that
No,
mobile, like chasing the rebounds that much because he was favoring that knee.
no, because we know he's super athletic, but when we watched him play, we didn't see him go super high up to go get a rebound or anything. It felt like he sluggish in a sense when he was rebounding. Like it was
Yeah,
just slow paced, and I think that was part of the reason that they lost too. Um,
yeah,
but there's nothing you can do against injury. I mean, except for maybe have your other two all stars show up in the series, but we won't talk about that.
yeah. One of them's not a real all-star.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you straight up that I'm seeing shades of Tobias Harris from Mr. Chris Middleton in Game One, so that's a little bit concerning. But hopefully that stops right away. But I got
I'm
nothing
not
else
gonna
to add.
lie. I'm not gonna lie. At this point, the playoffs are kind of getting boring for me.
I I disagree, but at the same time, I think that there's nothing more exciting than the second round of the playoffs because when you get to what is it, the third round is when we're down to two teams on each side.
Yeah, yeah,
When it's the second round, it's like the best of the best advancing into the second round, like usually the best teams. And there's a game or two on every night, so you could follow everything at once. And it's basketball overload, and I love that. Now we're at a point
yeah.
where some nights there might not be a game, or the game's not on until 10 o'clock at night. And if the game's not close, there's not another one on later in the night. So I just like the second round way more. But let's be real. I really wanted to see the Jazz versus the Suns in the Western Conference Finals, and I think we got robbed of that. And that's partially Donovan Mitchell's fault, but mostly the rest of the Jazz starting five's fault.
Yeah, but honestly, you know me, I low key really want to see the Mavs versus the Suns. I just want to see Luca on these stages. That's all. And
See,
then as for the East, oh man, like I really wish,
we got robbed.
yeah, honestly, this I'm proud of Trey Young and stuff. Like they're doing the thing, and they won the last game. But it would have been a so much more exciting series if it was the Sixers and Bucks.
I agree. I think just it's not even anything against Trey Young. It's just there's more star power on the floor. Like there's Trey Young, but
Yeah.
like I know John Collins is pretty good, but like that's it for the most part after. And like if you had Giannis, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday versus Seth Curry, Embiid, Tobias Harris, and Benny Boy,
No, we're not even gonna mention his name.
I mean that would have just been more enjoyable, more entertaining.
Hell, I'd be at one of those games.
Yeah, you would watch Ben Simmons shoot 2 of 15 from the
Literally.
free throw line
Oh
again.
my God. No, then I would be the one throwing food on at the arena of one of the players, and then you see me escorted off
Yeah,
out
seeing you
of
get
Wells
carried
Fargo
out.
in handcuffs. Yeah, and banned for life. Oh man.
It's okay as long as you get that final word in on Simmons. It'll be
Uh,
worth it.
uh, yeah, maybe then he'd learn how to shoot. Probably not.
It's all right. He'll be on a new team hopefully next year.
Better be, but just not my Heat.
I mean, outside of that, that's all I got to rant on. I mean, I got it all in on the Bucks. You got anything you want to add?
Nope. We're good.
All right. Well, with that said, enjoy the rest of your weekdays. Enjoy tonight's game. But Clippers versus Suns, game three. Suns are gonna probably blow them out in LA. But for some reason, whenever they're in LA, the game's super close. So maybe, I mean, the game's been super close all year, or all week. So I'll say if the Clippers win any game this series, it's going to be tonight's game.
You
Um,
better.
I hope Terrance Mann touches the floor more than 15 minutes. That's all I'll say. Um,
I hope the Suns sweep them. Like I just want these series. I just want to fast forward to the finals already. To be honest,
as long as it's Bucks versus Suns, I don't want to see Suns versus Hawks. Sorry, but without anything else to add, have a good rest of your week. We will see you for podcasts on Saturday, and enjoy some basketball. Have a good rest of your night.